Right guys, getting ready for our fasting challenge. What will we need, why will we need it, where does it come in, and what's the purpose of it? Remember, what we want to try and do is we want to maximise fat burning here this week. To do that, we need the right tools. Now, you can half-arse this and get half-arse results, or you can put your absolute best on it and get the best results possible. It's as simple as that. Right, so what we want to think about here is what tools do we need, what do we need? We want to make sure we get the best fat burning from this as possible. Yes, although there is other benefits of this, there's fasting, there's like autophagy, which is cell renewal, eating old cells and producing new ones. There's reducing inflammation, there's healing gut issues, there's improving sleep, there's improving skin through collagen production. There's a whole heap of these, but primarily what we want from this week is they burn as much body fat as possible. Please remember, there's a difference between body weight and body fat. We're trying to reduce as much body fat as possible. That's why, again, it's only 5 days. So there's a few things that we need that's going to really make this a bit more, say, enjoyable, but also more successful. The first thing we're going to need to get is apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is a great tool for mobilizing fat cells. When we're fasting, we've got less food coming in. So what we want to do then, what the body tries to do, is to prioritize using stored energy, which is body fat. Now, stored energy is stored in a form of triglycerides. So basically that's how the body stores fat, as a triglyceride. If it's going to burn fat, it has to break down the triglyceride and mobilize that fat into the bloodstream to be utilized as energy. That's quite a challenge. There's a few chemical reactions and enzymatic sort of reactions that have to happen for that to happen. So a triglyceride is, think about it, a triple backbone with 3 glycerol molecules. So it has to break that down and has to mobilize the fat into the system. Apple cider vinegar is fantastic at doing this. So apple cider vinegar will help to mobilize fat to use as energy more efficiently, which is an absolutely wonderful tool when we're trying to burn fat. So with apple cider vinegar, now I know everybody turns around and says this is disgusting, it's rotten. Listen, it's a cap full of apple cider vinegar and a wee bit of water, and we're going to add a grind of Himalayan salt or rock salt or sea salt or Celtic salt. Right, and also a squeeze of lemon. It's the lemon and the apple cider vinegar that will be mobilizing fat cells to use as energy. The salt we're using as a hydration formula. All right, now the salt is optional because we can also use hydration formulas. We can use things like this, for example. There's a whole pile of them that you can buy online, Amazon, and even every shop that you go into these days, even things like Tesco's and Sainsbury's, they all have hydration formulas of some sort. We can use that instead. I like the hydration formulas because I can at least then drink them through the day to help quench thirst. We need to stay hydrated. So we've talked about the apple cider vinegar and the lemon and what that does for mobilizing fat to utilize this energy and break down the fat so we lose fat. The hydration here is really the key to success in this. A lot of people when they're fasting, they will experience headaches, lethargy, which is tiredness, hunger. All those 3 things are ghrelin signals. Ghrelin is, yes, we call it a hunger hormone, but the hunger hormone will release during dehydration. It'll signal as hunger and tiredness, and it will give you headaches. So to make sure that we don't get that issue, or I'm sure you've probably all heard of a keto flu. A keto flu is when people go on a ketogenic diet. There's no carbohydrates. Because there's no carbohydrates, the muscle becomes dehydrated and then very tired with headaches. So hydration is the key here. So like I said, your morning formula: apple cider vinegar, squeeze a lemon, a grind of 2 of Himalayan salt. The salt is there for hydration. So then when we drink water, the water then will be absorbed into the muscle. We'll get into exactly how hydration works in all our videos during the week, but just know that the hydration is a very important part. So we can use the salt and the apple cider vinegar, which does help to neutralize the taste a wee bit, or you can use that and your hydration formula if you want and get the best of both worlds. I like the hydration formula. As soon as I wake up every morning, no matter what day of the week it is, I have a hydration formula and I would drink it through the day. If I'm feeling a wee bit tired, maybe if I'm feeling a wee bit sort of, I don't know, a bit of a headache coming on because I've been working hard and I really haven't had much water, then I will drink that. The next thing we want then is our whey protein. Whey protein is used for 2 things. When we're breaking our fast, remember you've gone a long period of time without food, potentially anything from 18 to 20 to 22 hours with no food coming in. One of the things that everybody reports, and I'm guilty of this as well, when you do start eating, say we've got a 4-hour eating window or a 2-hour eating window, when we do start eating, it's like someone has just opened this floodgate and it's very, very freaking hard to stop. So you just sort of gorge and gorge and gorge and gorge. We're going to take a protein shake, 2 scoops, half an hour before our first meal. So we're breaking our fast 30 minutes before our first proper solid meal with 2 scoops of whey protein. The whey protein is the key here, not the beef, but the whey. The reason being, it's going to line the stomach, and 2 scoops of whey protein will make you feel very full up. It's good for satiety. You'll feel full up, so whenever you start eating, it's very hard to gorge or to binge out because you're already full. You'll just get enough of the good meal and they feel satisfied, they get the protein that you need. The second reason is that protein quality, protein quantity. We need to try and make sure we get as much protein as possible within our eating window. One of the downsides of fasting is it burns muscle tissue. The reason why it does that is because there's no protein coming in. We don't have a storage system for protein in the body. So for example, when we eat carbohydrates or we eat fats, if we eat too much of them, we can store them, which is what this is, to get later. There's no way to store protein. So once you've eaten it and digested it and absorbed it, it's done its job for protein muscle synthesis, cellular repair, collagen production. It's then gone. There's no more protein until you eat your next bit of protein. Or unless the body starts to catabolize and break down its own muscle protein, which we don't want to happen. So this is one of the downsides of fasting. This is one of the downsides of prolonged dieting, and this is what we're trying to avoid. We're just implementing a 5-day intensive protocol and no longer. All right, does that make sense? So it's very important that when we do eat, we prioritize protein for this reason. So we want to make sure we're getting 2 scoops of protein half an hour before the meal, and then during our eating window, it doesn't matter if it's 6 hours, 4 hours or 2 hours, your main priority is to eat as much protein as possible. Again, one, it's going to make you feel full up, it's going to speed up that metabolic rate, and it's just going to give you a lot more sort of that sort of satisfied feeling about having a nice meal and less chance of gorging afterwards, because we really want to make sure that we don't overconsume calories. Some people will count calories during the fasting window. I would prefer you don't, because I want to use fasting as a tool in itself. I don't want to have to use other tools with it. For example, keto, dietary restriction, calorie restriction. I want to use it just solely for the sole purpose of reducing calories by reducing the amount of food I'm eating without having to count any. But in saying that, I have seen in a 4-hour window where people put away 3,000 calories because of that gorge mentality. Guys, calories are still calories. The benefits of fasting is phenomenal. But if you eat too many calories, you eat too many calories. You've just neglected the whole weight loss side of it, the whole fat burning side of it, because you've just put in too much food. So the whole point of fasting is, if we reduce the amount of time we have to eat, then we naturally reduce the amount of calories coming, because there's less time to eat, there's less food that you've eaten. It's as simple as that. So it's a good way to restrict calories without having to count calories. If you're someone who, say for example, if you're on a diet, you would work with 1,500 calories. You do your intermittent fasting, and your eating window, you make sure that you eat 1,500 calories. Well guys, from a weight loss point of view, from a fat burning point of view, you might as well just spread your 1,500 calories over 8 hours, because there's still 1,500 calories. Does that make sense? So the whole point here is a massive calorie reduction, because there's less food, less time to eat that food. Does that make sense? So that's the 3 things that we want to make sure that we complement the diet, or the fasting, to be as successful as possible. Apple cider vinegar with squeeze of lemon. You can use your salt for hydration. The apple cider vinegar, guys, is not the hydration, it's the fat mobilization. All right, we hydrate with the sodium or the electrolyte formula, the hydration formula. We need both. Then we've got our whey protein. Guys, I know some of you think you don't like whey protein, or that irritates your stomach. What you'll find is whey protein is actually quite easy to digest. It's the flavouring, so pick a different flavour. Or if whey concentrate, read the label. Whey concentrate might make you feel a bit bloated because there's more lactose in it. Get a whey isolate. Whey isolate means that they've isolated the protein and they've removed all the lactose, which is basically milk sugar. That should be a wee bit easier in your tummy. It'll not line you as much, it'll not make you feel as full up as much, but it'll serve a good purpose anyway. So watch out for the videos during the week. The next video that comes up is going to be about timing and our intermittent fasting protocols. So now you know what tools we need, get on those tools, and let's have a really successful fast.